4th down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey,
what is up? Here we are. Here comes the video, baby.
Incomplete. The Buckeyes win.
Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making the judgments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Shaw, knock it out, and picks it up. Jack Shaw, coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score, and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure, Howard delivers downfield, and Smith, he's got it! Jeremiah Smith, 2025 College Football National Champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. And Buckeye backers, here we are, another spring game show. And this weekend, oh man, the students are going to be in town and they are going to see a show because it's a little bit of a scrimmage. I mean, they have their fun, they do their thing, but we get to see some pads popping, and hopefully I'll see some of that myself. So, Seattle Matt, you've been out for a while. You're back on the Buckeye backers, had a great vacation, recharged, ready to go. What have you kept up with?
A lot of daily phone calls from you on my vacation. So you've been keeping me up to speed from the Woody. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, my man. So we got to get into a few things. First of all, we had a few conversations about the 9 technique. And you know, they want to split out those defensive ends. And so far, all we're hearing is CJ Hicks, unblockable. Ryan Day, that's a person he mentioned when asked who stood out in the spring. He mentioned again, like when they're talking about going, good on good, who's going to block CJ Hicks. It's one of the biggest storylines of the spring. So CJ Hicks, do you think that that's just, passing situations that he's going to be in there? Do you think he's possibly going to be a starting defensive end?
I think it absolutely has to be third down packages, third and long packages. And you just simply look at, somebody who's 233 pounds, at least listed currently on the roster.
He put on some weight.
I'm going off current roster off 11 Warriors. So that's
sure
as my source there. He's also, 6'3" as well too. So that's pretty tall and pretty lean for a defensive end. I think you want those special third down packages, and we're talking 3rd and 8 and greater for something like that. Then I think he has the capability. But I look at something like that and I say that is absolutely not somebody you want in there if they're going to run the football or any chance of running the football, because he's going to get obliterated by a tackle. So I think in any running play, I don't want to see Hicks in there. But if it's a special third down package and you want to just let him go meet at the quarterback, I think it's a great addition. How about you?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a special package. It's a Rushman type package, and that's where we're seeing him. That's the only thing we're hearing, unblockable off the edge. And he mentioned last year he wanted to run from the edge, so this is where he wanted to be. That's what he wanted to do, and he's going to see the field like that, man. He's definitely going to see the field.
And that 9 technique, you look at Jim Schwartz, the D coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. He gets Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. The 9 technique is a very common technique for Myles Garrett, especially on third down. And it gives that pass rusher a lot of abilities to go inside, outside, sweep. It makes it really tough for those tackles, not knowing which direction they think that guy's going to go in. So this is the beginning of starting to see a little bit of that NFL concept coming in from Matt Patricia saying, hey, we're going to put our pass rushers in third and long situations. We're going to get them in space, and we're going to let them utilize their quickness, their hands, everything Larry Johnson's teaching them. So I really like that touch.
Yeah, absolutely. He sounds like it's going to be just getting after the quarterback. And that's kind of what we saw with Downs last year. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about Matt Patricia and the changes they made after the Oregon game last year. Was that something you think that came from the rest of the defense, and it wasn't necessarily, the outgoing defensive coordinator's decision? Because they had to make some changes. And we all know that there was kind of a come to Jesus meeting with Ryan Day and Jim Knowles. So with him leaving, I think that they're going to have more players in space, see ball, get ball, make situations like that. And that's something that kind of Matt Patricia's known for, right? Is to develop a scheme to let players play and play fast.
Yeah, and if you really want to take it a step further, we talked about it on this podcast before, that's really the architect of that is Bill Belichick, where if you go back to the 20 years, especially in New England, there was never a consistent week over week scheme, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where they were constantly rotating or shifting what kind of coverages they were in, what kind of schemes they were running on the defensive side, even on the offensive side. We talked about it. Anybody who plays fantasy football knows that the New England Patriots were some of the worst players to have on your team outside of Tom Brady, because week to week you didn't know what you were going to get. And that's really a testament to Bill Belichick saying, we don't really have a system. It's we're going to find the weaknesses of their next opponent, and that's what we're going to exploit. And you're seeing a lot of that Belichick coming out with Patricia, where maybe he's not going that traditional I run a 4-2-5, and you're going to be here, and this is the scheme we're going to run, and we're just going to beat you. It sounds like what you're hearing out of the Woody and the intel you're getting is having multiple players in multiple positions, basically saying what we do against Texas may not be what we do against Grambling State, and may not be what we do against Ohio, and so on and so forth. You could see different coverages every single week, but what are you hearing a little bit more detail around that?
Well, the multiplicity of the defense is the big thing. Everyone's got an A and a B position, excluding a few people like Ethan Onianwa. He is sticking at tackle because it's obvious that's where he's playing. And then, of course, the quarterbacks. They're not really getting multiple there, but everyone else is doing multiple positions because they want to be able to switch things around, and they want to be able to change the looks of the defense, the looks of the offense even. And they learned that last year, kind of the hard way. That offensive line had to be shifted around. And I think they want to make that approach with everyone. And we talked to the safeties coach, Guerreri, on Tuesday it was. Yeah, it was Tuesday. And he said, we've always really been doing that, but they made a bigger emphasis on it this year. So I think with the defense, they're actually going to rotate a little bit more. And the plan, like you said, from Matt Patricia, going back to his Belichick days, is to disguise some things, disguise the looks, and to change it from week to week.
Yeah. And it goes beyond disguising, though. I mean, disguising is like, okay, are you bringing a safety in the box? It looks like he's blitzing. Okay, you drop out and you blitz on the opposite side. That's really disguising more on the defensive side. This is like you come out week one and you run a 3-4 against Texas because for some reason that seems like it's going to work, and you got CJ Hicks as your outside linebacker in a 4-3. And then you go and play, let's say, Washington week 4, and you're running a 4-2-5, and they're like, where the hell is this? We were seeing 3-4 against Texas. I mean, that's when you're completely mixing up the schemes. And what I like about that is you have superior talent at Ohio State. You have that flexibility. Maybe, again, CJ Hicks, outside linebacker in a 3-4, maybe you put him in that special package on those third down plays. So you're putting him in two different positions.
Yeah. To me, I think actually Peyton Pierce is going to be the guy that's out there, but that's a topic for later on. Anyway, let's get to Billy Tuesday. In the locker room says, good evening. Good evening, Billy. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Thanks, sir.
He's back for some more. Next thing that we need to get out of all this was Ryan Day. The first thing he mentioned was CJ Hicks. Then it was Arvell Reese. He went straight to the defense. Usually in spring, you see the defense having a leg up because they can kind of do more of see ball, go get ball, and the offense has to learn the plays. It's easier to install a defense than it is an offense. So they probably do have the leg up and they're probably popping a little bit more. But they did say this week that it got ramped up and they had to kind of pull people back. Like, this team's got a little edge to it. There's people fighting from a young age, and they are really pushing. Like, these young freshmen came in ready to go, looking the part, having the right mentality, and they're pushing people for positions right from the start. I mean, they're still learning, but they're still pushing.
I agree. In I don't have a lot of precedent to look at it, but you look at somebody like Jeremiah Smith, right? And it was going to be very hard to keep him off the field. But if you're Coach Day, you can point to Jeremiah Smith and say, listen, that's an incoming freshman who worked his tail off and got starting reps and played throughout the season. We don't care if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. If you have the talent and you ball out, we're going to get you on the field. And we proved that with Jeremiah Smith. Now, it's impossible to keep a guy like that off the field anyways, but I think that really sets a good precedent where you may have seen in the past from Urban Meyer or Coach Tressel or others, where it was like, go sit down, freshman. You're not going to see the field no matter what. And so I think these freshmen coming in, they're uber talented. They're hungry. They saw what Jeremiah Smith as a freshman, and they're saying, hey, you ball out. Give us the 3 best years you possibly can. Bon voyage to the NFL. So I love the mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw it really from Devin Sanchez. Devin Sanchez, just the way he was talking, he talked like he'd been there for years. And he said, they don't care about your age once you get up here. It's show me what you got. I don't care what your mentality is. You got to learn now. You got to learn on the fly. It's a competition every single day. Always a competition. And he looks the part. He's ready to roll.
I mean, he's 6'2", 190. And I'll tell you right now, if you get a 6-foot cornerback, that's pretty good. That's pretty lanky. Yep. So you're talking 6'2", 190 as a freshman cornerback. Yeah. We are going to be in for a treat with Devin Sanchez the next 3 years, Buckeye fans. He's going to be amazing. Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait to see him on the field.
And IGB is 6'2" on the other side.
Yeah, he is.
I know we're going to have Jermaine Matthews on the opposite side, but Devin Sanchez is going to get playing time.
Yeah.
Riley Pettigrew is going to get playing time as a freshman. And some of these guys, they're going to get in, and they're going to get their name called. And, man, how awesome is that to come in as a freshman for Ohio State when you have those guys in front of you? It's like Jeremiah Smith seemed like it should have been an outlier, but we might see more of that.
You should. I mean, and that's a tough position to break into. You still got Aaron Scott, you got Bryce West, you got Jermaine Matthews. I mean, there's three toughs. There's a lot of competition there. So the fact that you're talking Sanchez might just break in, maybe not even a slot, right? He might break in 1 or 2 outside corner positions. That's a testament to his drive and that work ethic. And I think you owe a lot of that to Jeremiah Smith setting that precedent.
I also think that we're just going to see more rotation everywhere. And I hope at least, with the depth that they have and with what they've been able to rotate as far as the spring game or in the spring practices, they're able to rotate guys a little bit more and show what they can do. Obviously, in the spring, we get like the spring game warriors every year, someone that's going to jump off. CJ Hicks has been one of those in the past. So we got to see if it materializes this year, which I think it will. But I want to get back to that defense because Billy Tuesday brought up a good point. He doesn't think you can switch around the defenses like you can in the pros. You can't do that in college just like you can in the pros. And I think to some point that's true, and they're not going to switch as much as they would in the pros just because all their time is focused on football. They don't have to do school too.
Yeah, and I got to say in the pros, like Coach Belichick has 6 rings for a reason, right? So we got to put that a little bit to the side. When you're watching the NFL week in and week out, if you see a traditional 4-3 defense or a traditional 3-4, more often than not, you're going to see that pretty consistently week after week after week, at least in your base packages, your first, second down, those kind of things. You see a lot more disguising in the NFL. They're very, very good about not tipping their hand. And if they do, great quarterbacks expose that. So you don't see a lot of these drastic shifts that we're talking about in the NFL. Excuse me. You will see those exotic, unique third down packages. So that is something that you're talking about here. I actually think you have a little bit more leeway in college football because you got to realize 7 of your 12 games are probably not going to be that competitive at Ohio State. You could probably say maybe up to 10 of your games are not going to be that competitive. So when you're playing Grambling in Ohio and Washington and some of these teams, you have that luxury of trying different things out.
Are you going to say Washington like that, living in Seattle?
Yeah, that was
jumped when you go outside.
That was intentional. It wasn't just because that was the order of the schedule. That was intentional.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about that more in Seattle in about 5 months ish.
And the BIA is set, and it keeps getting better and better. Obviously, you want to talk about the new guy that just joined us today, Caldwell.
Yeah.
6'2" out of Florida. Where is he? Jacksonville, Florida?
Jacksonville. Yep.
He's 6'2", right? What was his weight? He had
I saw 195. Let me pull it up to see.
195.
I want to get that
was he
right.
6'2"? He might not have been 6'2". I want to know his measurables again.
He's 6'3", 185. So I saw initial reports had him listed as a linebacker. I want to correct that. Well, you're
think
seeing
he's
other
going to
Warriors
be
system as a safety, but the composite ranking has him as a linebacker. I'll tell you right now.
It was a linebacker / safety, and I think just based on how everyone's responding on social media, they're all saying boom, and they're showing the booms with safeties or defensive backs and coaches. So I'm pretty sure he is going to be coming in at the safety role.
Well, he has to, because you look at Blaine Bradford, right? Listed as the number 1 safety in the 26 class. He's 6'1", 207. That's a safety. You're not going to play linebacker really anything under 220. And even then, that's on the light side of a linebacker. So he's going to have to switch to safety. He may be playing high school ball as a linebacker, but won't at Ohio State.
Exactly. I think he's going to be safety for sure. Then we got to get into the quarterback competition, right?
Billy, man.
He hit you hard below the belt. So now you're gonna do the squirrel and jump in the locker room out of nowhere.
Yeah. When you're taking shots at the Cleveland Browns, come on. You gotta yell squirrel, man. Come on, you know my triggers.
Everyone takes shot at the Browns, man.
Yeah.
Are they gonna get a quarterback?
All right, talk to me about quarterbacks. Let's go. I like.
Let's talk about quarterbacks. The one thing that the Cleveland Browns don't have, Ohio State does, and they got a plethora of them. So they got to decide which one's going to be there. I noticed one thing for sure. Day's asked a lot in the media. The media loves saying. Julian Saying is the media darling right now, right? Because they always ask about his leadership abilities, but Day doesn't really transition it back to the 2 other quarterbacks, Tavian St. Clair and Lincoln Kienholz. And I'm not really sure if that's done on purpose, done on accident, or what. But, if there's a quarterback battle in my head, what I'm doing is I'm like, well, I explained Julian Saying and his ability to start being a leader. And then I go over and I'm like, well, Lincoln has also established himself as a leader, and we got a competition, and start like really hammering that home. Competition. So I just found that interesting, but I still do think, from a competitive standpoint, we do have a quarterback battle, and it's going to be interesting to see this weekend and next weekend really what's happening. Because you look at the video clips that they show, there was an interception that was posted by Ohio State. Didn't show you who threw it. Be nice to know who threw that. I mean, one interception, no big deal, but just, letting the things add up, the check marks add up, see who's taking control. They did show videos of Julian Saying throwing a touchdown to Carnell Tate. They showed a video of Kienholz throwing a touchdown to Jeremiah Smith. So they're both taking first team reps, obviously, in practice, because they're thrown to the first team wide receivers. And it's just going to be interesting to see, because you hear people talking, but we don't have any direct evidence yet, right?
My opinion on this, a couple different things, is there has to be some very competitive strategy around this. And the reason for that is you have a transfer portal window coming up after
Yep.
spring game. When you look at Ohio State's roster, they have
Mhm.
4 quarterbacks on the roster, which I would
Mhm.
consider what you want to see baseline in college football with all the scholarships and everything you have. You only have 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah,
What
I
you
did
want,
notice Mason Maggs out there. I don't know much about him at
that's
all.
fine. He's an arm. He's a
Oh,
QB.
he's the guy from Dublin. I forgot about him.
Yeah, and he's a senior, and you know he's going to stay. You don't have to worry about it. But if I'm Coach Day, I am hyping up this competition, because in my mind, I want Lincoln Kienholz to think he has a chance. Because ideally, what I want is Lincoln Kienholz to not go in the portal. I need 4 QBs on the roster. So I'm talking it up like that. My counterpoint to all of that is once the portal closes and Kienholz decides to stay, I don't want a quarterback competition. You got 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. Like, I want to be very precise, especially come late July. Luckily, or hopefully, you keep Kienholz in place. I'm naming my quarterback and I'm moving on. I don't want a competition in August. That's not healthy.
I do want a package for Kienholz to get him in, and I'd like to see a lot of reps too, some backup reps. For some reason, I don't think we get enough backup reps at the quarterback position, even in games where we know we're going to win. You know, like the Grambling State, we need to get the backups in, and for a lot of reps. And you saw that, you know, Devin Brown didn't get that many reps last year. He should have, but Julian Sang should have got more. I like to see quarterbacks have that experience, right? So when you come into this year, you kind of know who's going to be the starter, and you know who can take control right away of a game. You know who can drive the ball down the field when you need to, and what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. You know more about them. And I guess Ryan Day feels like he can get that with practice, but I like to see it in a game, live action.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up while you were talking. I seem to recall, especially in that Tennessee game, the playoff game, I thought they played 4 quarterbacks that game. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of another game. And the reason I thought that was so odd is why are you getting exposure to 4 quarterbacks? I understand it's a playoff game, but that game was kind of over going into that 4th quarter anyway. So you're not getting that full playoff experience. I think in a situation like that, I would have liked to just, I don't know, somebody take the 3rd, somebody take the 4th kind of thing. Maybe you want 3, that's fine. But you're right. You typically don't see that backup quarterback come in until usually like late 3rd quarter, especially in these MAC blowouts. And that's a little bit odd because by that time, nobody wants to throw the ball. Even on 3rd and 8, it just looks bad. Even if it's your 2nd, 3rd string quarterback in there, everyone knows what you're doing. So I would like to see, to your point, if you're up 31-3 against Grambling at halftime, put your backup in. You're not losing a 28.
Get them some reps.
I agree.
And I want to see, like Billy Tuesday's saying here, Sang wins it. Lincoln Kienholz needs some goal line a la Brown and McCord. I agree. We need some goal line packages. It would be like a Bo Perbula with Penn State last year. I'd love to see some packages like that for Kienholz if he is indeed the backup. And to Don Mega, everybody is saying, but Lincoln Kienholz is putting up a good fight. I agree. I think it's still a quarterback battle, and we're going to see this play throughout the spring. Really interested. I think the reason Day wants to do a really live game, spring game, it's no longer the showcase, is because he wants to see that. He knows they got Texas coming in 147 days or something like that.
I think
you start off the bat with Texas, you need to know right away who the quarterback is. You can't be going in, into fall camp and being like, I don't know who's going to be.
Well, I think you got some deeper issues here in all seriousness because you're hoping Kienholz stays, right? If he gets that feeling that Saban's going to beat him out for a job, he's a redshirt sophomore. He's on his 3rd year. He's going to be looking to go start at somebody else who needs a starting quarterback, and a lot of places will take him. You got Mason Maggs, who's a senior, right? And again, nobody wants him seeing the field. You do need a quarterback, though. You need that depth there. So he's gone next year. You're probably seeing the loser of the Say and Kienholz battle probably is transferring at one point. So those are 2 quarterbacks you lose. And then you start having the argument. You got Tavian St. Clair, who's, 6'4", 225 as a freshman, rocket arm. Now you got Sain wondering, okay, if I'm going to lose this battle next year to St. Clair, you could see 3 quarterbacks leaving off this roster. So, I think Ryan Day has to be very careful how he plays this to keep the roster intact this year. And then hopefully you're getting some arms next year.
Yeah, and you have to have someone in the portal that you're thinking about. You got to be scouting the portal right away. You don't necessarily bring them in, but you want to know, hey, here's my plan if one of the losing quarterbacks enters the portal. You got to have that backup plan to bring someone in right away. So you got to have those conversations with people, but you don't necessarily want to tell the quarterbacks that you're having that conversation. Or maybe you do. I think Ryan Day likes to be an open book and says, hey, if one of you guys are leaving, let me know. I need to get in that portal. And they have those honest conversations. Because I really do.
A great leader doesn't have to be an open book like that. You can be honest and forthcoming in a lot of ways, but you don't have to play it like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously, the Missouri game has nothing to do with this competition. And a lot of fans will come out and say it does, but the offensive line was a joke. The whole team was a joke at that point. No one wanted to be there.
Nobody wanted to be there. He had 0 reps. He was the first-string quarterback.
Honestly, when they did let him throw the ball, he did a decent job when they opened up the offense a little bit. But it took him a while. It took him a while to be like, all right, we got to let this guy throw. We're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he did get the raw deal, and I'm a fan of him. I'd like to see someone from a small state, a small population, South Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota, come in and light it up. It would be awesome.
Yeah, and he strikes me as the type, goes to a Big 12 school, an ACC school, even an upper echelon group of 6 school. I think he could do well. I don't know if he's what we need at Ohio State, but it doesn't make you a bad quarterback. Go look at Kyle McCord. He wasn't able to cut it at Ohio State. The guy lit it up at Syracuse. He's going to be an NFL draft pick in 3 weeks. So just because you're not what we need at Ohio State doesn't mean you're not a good quarterback and you may not excel elsewhere.
The kid from DJ Uiagalelei. I'm assuming that's not who you're talking about. Wait, who was the guy? Who was the guy that went to Michigan State? I can't remember his name.
Aiden
Childs. Yeah, maybe that's
CHIDES.
Yes, Holtz was a good basketball player, but also a good baseball player. And I think he was all-state in each of the 3 sports.
It was South Dakota, though. Let's put an asterisk next to that.
It's still awesome. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where did he go? That name, Billy.
He transferred in to us. Gebbia, right? Remember we brought in a couple of those backups just to be there, just to for experience that.
I agree, and that's where you look at Mason Maggs, from Dublin, right? And we've talked about this in the past with the transfer portal quite a bit, where no longer does Ohio State or these big schools have to reach for those 3 stars they like, or that 3-star has the potential that's local. You can let those kids go to a middle of the pack school, even in a Power 4 conference, and you could say, hey, get some reps. Let's see what we like. If we want you to come back in, I think you have that advantage. There's a lot of great high school talent around the city of Columbus. So I would go out and try to find that 3-star quarterback that was playing in Columbus, went elsewhere, is fine, is great as a 3rd or 4th string kid, and go offer him a scholarship.
For sure. Yeah. And come back in and, you're playing at Ohio State. How awesome is that? Your life.
You need that local kid. That kid that came from Katy, Texas ain't going to care about that as a 3-star. But if you played at Dublin or Olentangy, that's appealing to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the next topic I got to get into was Downs' injury. Well, before we get there, I believe we owe a commercial break to Dano Seasoning. Yum, yum, get you some. It's all.
Gano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we
Hey.
all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Yum, yum, get you some. All right, we are back. Downs. Caleb Downs had an injury. No one knew about it until Ryan Day said, yeah, he's a little limited. So the other safeties have been getting more reps. And the only reason he even mentioned it was because someone asked him the question, is Caleb Downs still repping at running back like we wanted to see last year? That was a huge talk when they're like, hey, Caleb Downs might be a running back. All right, sweet. That sounds cool. Well, he had a little nagging injury, and Day said that's not happening in the spring. We want him to get over that, make sure everything's good to go. And then he said he will be good to go. And then all of a sudden they post a highlight of a diving interception that he had. Again, we don't know what quarterback he intercepted, but a diving interception. So that's at least 2 videos that I've seen of interceptions during spring practice. Again, we got quarterbacks that are just getting their feet wet, right? So there's going to be some interceptions, and the defense has the upper leg in spring, especially in the beginning. Going to be interesting to see how much they do in the spring game, how much Downs plays, which I don't think he'll play much at all, especially if he's got this nagging injury. But the fact that that nagging injury isn't really bothering him, if he's diving for an interception and picking it up off the ground, he's good to go. It's just pitch count, right? And he doesn't really need to show himself. He's got his position locked down.
Yeah, he has nothing to prove.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 guys that have absolutely nothing to prove in the spring, and he's one of them.
And it brings me back to that best in America thing, because he was one of the ones that was like, yeah, we need to take all this stuff down. We haven't won anything this year. The new guys that come in, they haven't won anything. Get that locker room stuff down. Obviously, they're going to keep the banner in the Woody because they got to celebrate a national title for sure. Mm-hmm. The trophy's going to be in there. But it's just interesting, the makeup of these guys. Maturity. These guys are so mature beyond their ages. It's awesome to see. If you're 18 coming in there talking to the media, you don't talk like that. You don't usually talk to the media, right? It's like, keep those guys away from the media. We don't want them to see it. We don't want them to go and make a mistake. But these guys are talking to the media because they're not going to make mistakes. They got great heads on their shoulders, and they got great families, and they are ready to roll, man. It just impressive. I can't say enough about what Ryan Day's built. Like, you build a championship team, there's usually some problems, right? But when you get quality human beings and a championship team, that's something special that we've never seen. I don't know that it's ever been seen in college football ever. There's always been some issues, some deep issues with players getting arrested. The Georgia racetrack, Urban Meyer's time in Florida. I mean, there's always been something. But this team's got it cleaned up, man.
But you're seeing that a lot less now, period, in college sports, where you just go back 10 years ago and it was the partying and it was the questionable situations and it was all these potential factors. And this is not even Ohio State thing. I'm talking nationwide.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of that cleaned up across the country. And I think it's a testament to these programs. They're bringing in people who are speaking. They're speaking about, hey, be smart at parties, right? Be smart in these type of situations. You're seeing great parents who are having their kids in football at a young age. And when you start seeing that kid rising up, you're probably getting them around. Hey, this is how you need to talk to the media. Hey, these are situations to avoid. Hey, if you really want to make it in the NFL, these scouts for the NFL, as we are in the peak of the NFL draft and scouting, when they're going to these pro days, yeah, they like watching on a field. That's all good. They'll take you out to dinner and all that. That's great. You know what they're really doing? They're talking to equipment managers. They're talking to the guy who's taking care of the bathrooms. They're talking to all these people, be like, hey, give me the real story. What's this guy really like? Any red flags? Anything I need to be aware of? So these NFL scouts are finding everything about you. And you pair all this with, hey, we're going to bring in people that have said, hey, don't do this at parties. Don't do this in these situations. All of that with the legality of NIL. And now these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably talking to accountants, probably talking to financial advisors, having all these professional people in their life. Yeah, they're incredibly mature. And I think it's fantastic that we're seeing this next generation rising up, maturing so fast and not putting themselves in detrimental situations.
Yeah. You could have all the people come in and talk to me you wanted when I was in college, but you put a couple natty lights in my hand and game over.
Yeah, but the difference was if somebody told me at that time where they said, hey, your goal is to do X with your future, and we think you can get there and you're going to be really great at X and make a lot of money, put the damn natty light down, you probably would have put the natty light down. So these kids are seeing, by being at Ohio State, my career path is the NFL. We're going to see 15 guys in 3 weeks make it to the NFL. And you're going to start out with a 6-figure deal. It's not going to be huge, but a lot of those guys are going to be making millions upon the millions they've already made. So when you see that path, and it makes sense at Ohio State, Georgia, and all these other places, you realize, hey, I don't want to screw this up.
Yeah. And the partying, they don't party anymore. And
which is smart.
That's the point. Yeah. There's no reason to party.
No,
right?
Look at Travis Hunter.
You're here for football, you're here for an education, and you're here to develop a brotherhood. All right. And you're going to go off to the NFL. Everyone coming into Ohio State, that's their ultimate goal. And look, 15 guys a year, if that keeps happening, they're going to the NFL almost entirely if they're starters.
Yeah.
If not, you're maybe even a free agent.
But even if you're somebody like we could go down the roster, right, and look at somebody who's 4-string here or 4-string there. You now have this pressure now as that 4-stringer. Yeah, you're probably not going to the NFL. You're not playing a lick in the NFL. You're going to get your college degree, but more importantly, you don't want to be that headline on ESPN that says Ohio State football player caught doing X or Y.
Oh yeah, because
that brotherhood is raising the standard of even if you're not going to ever play another down of football after Ohio State, the standard is be respectful, do not get in trouble, because we are a program that doesn't want to have that distraction on our way to the national title.
Absolutely. And you will at Ohio State. If you get caught doing anything remotely stupid, the media is going to be all over you. ESPN will have 5 vans there immediately if you do something dumb. And then the beat is the largest beat in the country, so they're going to ask questions quickly.
And rightfully so. Rightfully so. And again, you can sit here and say, well, is that a true college experience and all that stuff? I look at Ohio State football, like Bama and Georgia and a few other places. It's like an internship. It's like a 3-year internship to go get your professional job. And that's how they're starting to treat it right now. And maybe they're not getting those experiences, but I'll tell you right now, being a professional in the NFL, you're probably going to have some pretty cool experiences as an adult. But
it's a paid internship. Don't forget that part.
Good, rightfully so.
And we're going to get Mike Germanese in here to talk to us a little bit about the pay here in just a second. But a couple more things to get to before we bring him in. Onianwa, Ethan Onianwa. He is going to be the left tackle. Mark that down. Came in at 257. Ryan Day was asked about it. I believe it was Dave Biddle who asked him right away, hey, what about this weight? Is that an ideal weight where you wanted to be? And he was like, no, Lord, no. We want him to cut about 30 pounds. Well, guess what? He's down to about 330. So 27 pounds gone. How did that happen? He had to have been cutting weight, before these 2 weeks, or like the nutrition program and everything that they've done with him has been phenomenal. You don't cut 27 pounds in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You don't.
And you're looking at a guy who's 6'6", right? So that's pretty good height for that weight. But again, you really want to see 330, 340 is okay, right, at that height, but you really don't want to be eclipsing 340. I think the challenge is when you're dealing with individuals this large is he going to be able to maintain that? So if he can come in July 31st or whenever they really start training camp, and he's again at 330, 335, that's a great story. But if he comes into training camp at 355, that's where you have issues. And we all remember DeJuan Jones, right? Offensive tackle, drafted by the Browns in the 4th round. He's starting to come around, but his first 2 seasons, they were having a lot of trouble with that weight there. He was a big guy too. He's had 2 season-ending injuries. Now they've said he's kind of righted that ship. He's down to about 330 as well too. So you're starting to see that with that 6'5" to 6'7" range staying at 330. But it's a struggle for guys that are that big to really maintain that weight. It's tough.
Absolutely. Next, let's get into what we think the starting rotation is going to be. So start on the offense. What we got is Carson Hinsman, center. I think he's going to stay at center. Any objections to that?
None.
Luke Montgomery at guard. This is where it gets a little bit, who knows what's going to happen, because you have 3 guards, right? And Tegra, Shabola, and then Austin Saraveld. I don't know what's going to happen. Saraveld could come down and play left tackle for all I know, and Phillip Daniels would be a backup maybe. But you have 3 guards that could play anywhere, anytime. Saraveld could play anywhere. He's an Iron Buckeye, so they want to give him that reward. I think he's probably earned it to be an Iron Buckeye. That means he's probably going to find a place as a starter. But Ethan Onianwa is the right tackle, got that locked up. So the questions we really have are guard, which is not really a question, but like an overabundance of talent. Julian saying, I'm going to mark him down at quarterback. Lincoln Kienholz obviously is there. James Peoples, I think by far he's going to be the starting running back. I know you got CJ Donaldson and you got some young pups that are coming in too, and we'll see how they do. But what I've seen of Peoples, you're going to love it, man. He is running all over the place. He's blazing. He's J.K. Dobbins, basically. He's, part 2.
That's high praise, man.
Yeah, it is. And that's what Travion Henderson said of him. That's who he compared him to.
Yeah.
And
what are you seeing out
so
of
then
the,
we got
ball,
we got all world. We got Jeremiah Smith. We know he's there. Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
We know he's there. Brandon Ennis. We know he's there. But then tight end, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen at tight end. I would go with Max Clare to start, just because of what he's done in the past. But Will Kazmarek, he did really well. Jelani Thurman has shown crazy catching ability in practice. We'll see if that's not just a spring game type thing, spring practice thing. And Bennett Christensen's still there. We could do a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think that is something that we'll do a lot of this year because we have so much talent there. It's the most stacked I've ever seen tight end. And I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, it's good. And you're seeing a lot of tight ends from Ohio State, going into the NFL. I'm not going to say top picks or first round or anything like that. But you're really starting to see, especially with the evolution of the NFL, the tight end is becoming more and more important in the passing game. So is Ohio State trying to adopt that philosophy a little bit? That needs to be your appeal to getting these top tier tight ends, is saying, hey, we're going to get you the ball. We're going to get you touches. We need to utilize you. That's your ticket to the NFL. And I look at somebody like Jelani Thurman. That's the best news I've heard, that he's catching the ball, because the guy's a freak of nature. He's an amazing athlete. Just look at his body, sculpted. But he never he had stone hands, and you never saw him as a threat in the passing game. So if he's been working that jug machine and he's getting good at catching the ball, I think he could be a breakout player.
Absolutely. And I don't think that they would have taken a tight end in the portal because of what they had coming back if it weren't for Max Clare being an Ohio guy and being as good as he is, jumping in. They're like, well, this is a no-brainer. We got to take him. Let's go to the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take that. All right, you got defensive tackle. You got Caden McDonald, K-Mac. You got Edric Houston. I think those guys are locks to start. Maybe McDonald, because he needs more rest breaks, he gets subbed in for a lot. But maybe he's becoming more of an endurance guy. He's been able to get more reps, and you'll see him stay in the game longer. I don't know.
So real fast on that. You're saying Houston's coming in at D tackle.
Yeah.
Really? He's not going to be an end? I mean,
I think you got Kenyatta Jackson, you got Caden Curry there, and then also you got CJ Hicks coming in.
Well, again, Hicks is a specialty package. He's no way, shape, and form a defensive end. And Ken McDonald, I see, he's on the bigger side, right? So you're not going to see a 3-down D tackle in Ken McDonald. So that's where
and they got Tywin Malone too, still there.
They do, and that's where I could see Houston playing that D tackle role again in those 3rd and long packages. That's a great D tackle position for him.
I think he can do A or B. I think he can move around.
You see him as a 3-down defensive tackle.
I think he can, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's tricky. I mean, I'm seeing him listed as 270. I don't know if he's put on any more weight. I typically would say, I don't know, 290.
You could manage that at 270, but I think he has put on weight.
Man.
I don't know. I haven't weighed him myself, but I think he's a little bit bigger than 270 just looking at him.
It could be. I'm not, I'm going off a roster off 11 Warriors, and I could tell that some of the numbers are a little off, but I would say weight's a little bit off. Height's pretty accurate.
Yeah, anything that they built this this offseason, they probably don't have it on there because you already see difference in weight with. We talked about Ethan Onianwa. He's lost 27 pounds, so that hasn't been updated on here. You also saw who was it that gained some? Riley Pettijohn gained, I think it was 12 pounds, and that's not on there. He was up to 227. And yeah, Billy Tuesday says 290-ish, and that checks out visually.
Okay. I mean, 290-ish, then I'm good with that. Again, I'm reading off 270. So if he's 290, then I'm thrilled to see him at D tackle. And
I'm pretty sure he's going to be there. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that he's going to stay there. He'll probably mix around at defensive end too. But then let's go to linebacker. We got that set. If you don't have any arguments other than, where Edric Houston is, Sonny Styles is a lock to be whatever he wants to be, which is going to be linebacker and the block O. He's going to have the block O jersey, almost guaranteed. Arvell Reese is there. He's got the starting job. Then you have, I think Peyton Pierce is the other linebacker. I don't know how much you're going to see CJ Hicks at linebacker. I think he's got his position, see ball, get ball, go. And he's going to play off the defensive end a lot. In passing situations. In passing situations. Right now. In passing situations, yeah.
Yeah. So, but again,
and that's where you probably take K-Mac out, and then you have Edric Houston, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, and CJ Hicks there, unless they're in a 4-3 and disguising things.
But you probably have in that 4-man front. That's pretty common with Ohio State. But again, it's not even just 3rd down packages, because 3rd and 4, I'm not putting CJ Hicks at the end, because I'll tell you right now exactly what I do. Yeah. I'd run off tackle every single time. So if you're telling me he's playing DN pretty much only, and you're only going to see him in those 3rd and 8 or longer packages, guy's going to see 10 snaps a game. So he's not seeing the field all that often.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying only 3rd down packages. I'm just saying primarily 3rd down packages, 3rd and long. But I mean, 2nd and long, they might do it too.
Possibly,
but if you run to the side, I think that they know they're going to play the 9 technique. So what does that mean? That means you have really good linebackers. If you can space out those defensive ends and let them rush, that means you got a guy coming to fill, and you probably have to have high confidence in your defensive tackles too.
Yeah.
And I think they do. Those linebackers they're very solid. And you look around this, and this is what's tough. This is like a brand new defense almost. But everywhere I'm confident. I'm like, you have IGB and Jermaine Matthews. Jermaine Matthews didn't start, but he was pretty much a starter. You have Caleb Downs. He's the other starter coming back. And then the other safety, you have Malik Hartford or Jaden McClain. And then the nickel back, you have Lorenzo Styles Jr. and Peyton Pierce will be the other linebacker that comes in if they're doing a 4-3.
It's talent.
That's what we got.
It's inexperience,
but everywhere. It's inexperience, but talent and good leadership.
Yeah.
Let's get in. Let's bring in Mike. You got more to say? I'm going to bring in Mike. Go ahead and finish what you want to say.
Mike, man. No, I always say with this kind of roster, with that inexperience at starters, you wish that Texas game was week 3 instead of week 4.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to get a little bit of your feet. Last year when you're a senior laden team, it's okay to it's okay to start off with Texas week 1. I think there's going to be a lot of challenges with that, and you're going to have to learn on the fly.
And bringing Texas into the shoe is going to be interesting. Again, going to be a noon game because Fox is going to have their way with it. But what do you think about these noon games? I mean, do Michigan fans hate these noon games, Mike?
I think everybody hates the noon game.
Yeah.
The noon
good.
game's supposed to be like the appetizer.
Something we can agree on.
The noon game's supposed to be like the appetizer. Then your 3:30 game's supposed to be like the start of it. And then the main dish should be at 8 o'clock. Like, there's no reason why Texas and Ohio State aren't playing at 8 o'clock under the lights.
Exactly. Especially in the beginning of the year when it's hot, September. You don't want those hot games where everyone's like, I want to go home. I'm sweating. It's time to leave. Like,
no, it's terrible.
And the sun's bearing down on you. Like, under the lights, the atmosphere is great at the shoe, but you get a noon game and it's like, yeah.
Is there any chance NBC gets a grab at that?
No. Fox has got the first choice, and they're going to take that. Why wouldn't you take that? It's going to be a top 3 matchup, probably.
I looked at the schedules because I was with an Ohio State fan, and I forget off the top of my head, I forget the games, but there's a few pretty big games that week from the SEC. So I got, and I think an ACC one. I think Clemson's playing somebody, maybe Georgia, I think it was. So
I thought LSU had a big game too.
So we kind of figured that you would have Ohio State at noon, and then one of them at 3:30, and then one at 8. Because Fox is going to take that game for the noon slot.
Yeah.
So this is the way I heard it explained about these all these packages is, and I don't know the exact order, the frequency of it, but they take a week. They don't take a game. So like Fox would probably naturally start with week 13, Ohio State, Michigan. That's their moneymaker. That's everyone's moneymaker. Yeah. You start with that. That's your number 1 pick. Now, if they get number picks 1, 2, and 3, maybe. I don't know if
they get 1 and 2.
Maybe 1 and 2. Maybe it goes 1, 2, and then it's CBS, NBC, and then it goes 1, 2 again. It's not a snake.
Yeah. Because didn't they take the what other game did they take last year? Did they take a Michigan game? Did they take that?
Because you got to remember, Ohio State, Oregon was an NBC game. That was a night game, and that's a big game.
But I think they took.
Yeah,
Michigan.
But there was another 3 big games that day. There was somebody else. There was a rivalry game at noon that day.
That was one of the biggest college football weekends of the year. That October 12th.
Yeah.
I tried to look it up how they do it, and it's too hard to like.
It's very complicated.
They pick teams to start the year, and then they have a draft for weeks, and then you have to say what game you're picking within 10 days of the game. Like I couldn't figure it out. At least trying to read it.
It's convoluted. So let's move on. Let's talk about
Florida State, LSU, Clemson. There's some big games week 1, man.
Yeah. That's what it was. I knew it LSU. I was thinking it was LSU, Clemson. Anyway, that will be, preseason. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But let's get into this article. You sent me the article about the Power 4 basically trying to break away and have their own.
Well, they're not trying to break away. What they're doing is they're starting
sort
their
of
own
breakaway
policing and clearinghouse for NIL. So they're going to try to...
It's basically breaking away, right?
Yeah, they're going to try to...
Their own governing body.
They're trying to reel in the wild, wild west that is NIL now.
Yeah. And why do you think that is? Like, what's going on that...
It's unsustainable. Let's be honest. It's unsustainable. You say
it's unsustainable. Why can't we let the market correct that?
Because the market won't. You're going to end up with 8 to 10 programs that can compete and no one else. Maybe 8 to 10. It's actually probably.
Isn't that what we had before?
It's probably lower than that. But you're going to talk about some big.
programs. You had like 4 teams making the 4-team playoff almost every year, or 3.
But you're going to have some big teams, some big brands that can compete year in and year out.
So
when you start getting into, you hearing numbers of $50 million a year, $60 million a year that these
Mhm.
schools are allowing for NIL.
I think that's
There's
mostly
not,
the
and
SEC teams that can't compete.
and the problem
Take
too
Texas
is,
out of the equation because they can.
I think the problem too is now is you're getting away from where you're having not donors, fans donate to
Mhm.
make up these, and you're getting big money boosters where for some of them, if they put in $200 million a year would be nothing.
Mhm.
You can't have that. It's almost like these guys are playing fantasy football for real life. I'm going to build my team, you build your team, and let's see who wins.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think
I mean-
a big part of it, I think you can see in college basketball what's going on with how many people are hitting the portals.
Mhm.
You had
They're
the
getting
Houston
paid.
coach. The Houston coach like reach out to somebody, and the first thing was, yeah, it's $2.5 million for a year.
Mhm.
So I
What do you
think
think?
they
Seattle?
got to reel it in.
I mean,
think
it sounds
they're
like you're
understanding
describing Major League Baseball, man. I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
that's what I hear. And again, you're right. There could be some donors here and there, but by and large, not every donor has $200 million or even $50 million that they're just comfortable parting with. And if they do, it could be on a one-off basis. It's not going to be routinely. There's a lot of billionaires in this country that couldn't give a damn about college football. So
you talk about Seattle and Washington and what's going on there. I mean,
yeah, that's a great example. I have a lot of close people who are alumni and very close to Washington. And I've actually pitched this quite a bit is there's a lot of money in Seattle, a lot of very wealthy people, a lot of very wealthy alumni. And I've said, why is your collective not better? Why aren't you paying for these players? The answer is our wealthy alumni don't give a shit about college football. And that's why their collective isn't as big as a lot of others. They have the money, they're just not willing to put it in. And the same argument applies with Steve's comment about the market correcting itself. If I have, $500 million and I'm willing to throw a few million here and a few million there, but the kid takes my $2 million and transfers out to another school the following year, eventually I'm going to be tired of paying kids for 1 year, especially freshmen who barely see the field, and then say peace out and took my $2 million and I got no return on investment.
Yeah, but see,
So there is a correction there.
I don't think it's just we're focusing on just freshmen, right? I think it has everything to do with the transfer portal, how many people are entering it just for a money grab, tampering. Well, Steve sent me Kirby Smart today?
Yeah.
Was sent here. You want to jump in a Zoom meeting about what players we have available and what their NIL price is that are still on teams? And some of the players might be that he's going to look at. Well, I shouldn't say going to look at. That he was offered to look at could be on his team. These agents now are just putting together videos of, well, let's get all the coaches together and here's the players. They're practicing right now. They're on a team. But if you want them, this is their NIL amount they want.
And this is before the transfer portal window is open.
Yeah.
Is what Kirby was saying. I don't think Kirby can compete monetarily.
And part of the settlement too is because you got to watch out too, because part of the settlement that's going to be announced on Monday for this House versus NCAA is that anything above $600, players have to declare. So you got up to $600 where you don't have to say nothing. After $600, you're going to have to tell somebody that you got this NIL deal from a third party.
There's going to be a lot of $599 like transactions going on.
No, but you have to declare it. I mean, it's taxable income.
Yeah, but now you have to tell them when it comes in. And then they're going to have an independent group look at the NIL deal and decide if it's an actual business or if it's just somebody saying, hey, come to Ohio State, I'll give you $100,000. You don't have to do nothing, but I'm going to give you $100,000. Or here's $9 million. Why don't you come play quarterback in Michigan?
But see, that's the market correcting it. Again, nobody's going to routinely pay $9 million for somebody to come there if they're either not seeing the field or they're not executing. Eventually, people who have hundreds of millions of dollars didn't get that way by being stupid or throwing their money away.
One of the reports, I don't know if it's true.
But there is an outlier to this.
One of the reports I read is one of the schools has a $30 million a year account until the guy dies. or his 38-year-old wife dies.
Yeah, that's the Oracle guy from Michigan.
I mean,
30 to 40 million a year that's sitting there.
And then it doesn't disappear until his 37-year-old wife. He's 87, his wife is 33.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
You got $40 million just sitting there every year for NIL. Then you grab one of the other 50 big money donors you have. Here, throw in 5 here, 10 here.
But the problem with that is that then they spent 10 million of it on a quarterback. And if he doesn't, it doesn't sound like he's not going to pan out, but say sometime he doesn't pan out and you lose that $10 million.
So you spend 10 million next year of the 40 million you have sitting there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the market corrects itself eventually when you start having mistakes. And this is new, it's fresh, and it's in the limelight, and everyone wants to do it.
It's not that new anymore. It's not that new.
Still new. It's still relatively new.
It keeps going up.
Yeah.
You didn't hear about this 2 years ago. Now you have what? You have coaches coming out saying a quarterback.
Which is why I'm saying that it's new.
5, 6 million.
You didn't hear about it 2 years ago. That's new.
What was the rumor for what's his name? Hewers? He got an NIL offer for $6 million.
Oh, Quinn Ewers.
from
I don't
Michigan
remember
State.
what the rumor was.
So it's gonna keep going up, and I think that's what they're trying to reel in, and they're trying to get rid of pretty much what's been going on in college football and college basketball for the last 100 years. It's just now it's in the public.
My question is
this is the problem. Like, we all applauded NIL for saying, finally, you're paying these kids. They deserve to be paid for all the things they endure, because the majority of these kids will never make an NFL roster. So go get your money whenever you can get your money. And now we're going to regulate how much money they can make again. To me,
no, but
take the regulation
capitalism. If somebody wants to pay you $20 million a year,
wait,
go play
second string. No one's regulating what they can make.
So what?
No one's regulating what they can make. You can still do NIL.
Does anyone regulate a actress makes?
What happened with Michigan's quarterback? You can't do that. You can't just pay a kid to go to a school. If Dr. Pepper wants to give Downs.
Well, yeah, that's what NIL was. Now we're doing pay to play. This isn't NIL anymore. That's just the name of.
Yeah, they're getting rid of pay to play. If Steve has a brand and he signs with Dr. Pepper can give him $100 million. He can go make $100 million because he built his brand. That's a legitimate deal. What they're saying is you can have legitimate deals. You can't have these ones where you get 1 million fans to put in $2 each, and we're going to hand you $2 million to come play at our school. They want to get rid of that.
I don't think they should. I think they just let it go. It's already the cat's out of the bag. You're not putting it back in. You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle.
I'm not saying it's right or right. I'm just telling you.
But they're doing revenue sharing. Why would they do revenue sharing from the university capped at $22 million if you can't pay the players?
Well, that's a sustainability argument. Most schools can't afford that.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. They're saying that you're going to end up with 5 or 6 schools that are going to compete and no one else.
You're going to end up with 5 or 6 schools anyway. That's what we had before.
No, I think
it's just because it's different schools now.
And well, first of all, let's be honest. First, you're going to see collective bargaining come in. So as soon as collective bargaining come in, because they're going to be deemed employees sooner than later.
That's why I don't think they should do revenue sharing. They should just let it come from the businesses and whoever wants to donate, and then you don't have to worry about that.
So just leave it the way that it is. That's just fine. You can leave it the way
it's already here. Leave it the way it is. Why change it now?
Schools are not going to be able to afford them as employees. You got health benefits, you got retirement benefits,
and then that leads to cutting sports.
Ancillary benefit. It's not even cutting sports. You're cutting massive components of your institution by having all these athletes on your payroll.
Well, they're going to be cutting them anyways.
Some of the smaller schools just close up shop because
they're going to be cutting them anyways, because it's not long before college football and basketball leave the NCAA, and then these schools are going to have to get around Title IX. How do you get around Title IX?
It's federal.
The football and basketball. You start cutting the Olympic sports.
That's why you don't. That's what I'm saying. You don't pay them. You still let the NIL be the pay to play, and you don't pay them from the university and everything's solved.
Well, the
Just let
problem
it
is
go
the
with how
judge
it's
said
going.
they have to start paying them.
Yeah.
So there's no
These
way
damn
getting away
judges
with
need
that.
to stay out of
Because
sports.
it was either a lot of
why,
schools.
why does the government feel like they have to regulate everything?
Well, it wasn't.
Well,
It was
because there
either
was a
lot of-
lawsuit. It was
It
a
was a
lawsuit.
lot
Yeah.
of schools were going to go broke, or they were going to do this. Because a lot of schools didn't have the $10 billion they wanted or $15 billion split.
Yeah, but they didn't have all the money to do the facility upgrades either, to have the best locker room. And no one complained about that. That's an unfair advantage. If you're paying players, that's an unfair advantage. If you
Listen, I'm just saying why it's
just
happening.
let the market do it. So I don't understand.
Do I agree with it? No. Do I like it? No. But it is what it is now. So we're going to have to figure out. Well, sorry, now they're going to have to figure out how they're going to do this.
Yeah, and it's not going to come from our opinions. That's for sure.
Because you know what's going to happen. The first time a student gets caught with above 600, you know that it's going to court.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is all going to start over again.
Yep.
If it was what's fair market value, to me, fair market value is whatever somebody wants to pay somebody if you're a business.
Yep.
So, but Deloitte's supposed to be able to compare and say, yeah, this is a realistic fair market value or this isn't. I don't know how you get around that.
Yeah, and to me, it just opens the door for cheating too.
Well, yeah, all you're doing is bringing back the Begman. Now, it's a lot harder to hide $1 million in the trunk of a car than it was 20 years ago when it was 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a lot harder to cover up $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah.
Than it was that here, come to my house and we're gonna have a big party, and inside this McDonald's bag is 15 grand.
Yeah.
But
that might be the difference, you know. You still just give a 15 grand extra.
What I think you're gonna see too is you're gonna see almost like baseball. Like Matt mentioned baseball, you're gonna see high school kids get contracts or get NIL money in grade 11, 12. Mm-hmm. And these boosters are just going to be like, oh, I just paid them to be in high school. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to, it's going to be like the Shohei Ohtani. Here, make this money now, but we're going to pay you over the course. And it's the opposite. Yeah. We're going to give you $10 million now, but you're going to go to the school. Yeah. You're going to go to the school for 4 years. But if you leave in this contract, it'll be this little part. If you leave, you have to pay back this much.
Yeah. But is that going to be an actual contract? Because you're talking about kids that are under 18. Their parents have to sign for them.
The parents have to sign somebody. Listen, these lawyers.
That's even more dangerous because now you're dealing with custodial accounts. Yep. You're dealing with a whole other set.
Well, think about it now.
Yeah, so that could change in the court of law easy. Yeah. Like, how many you're deciding a kid's future? If you sign before you're 18 that you're going to go to LSU, then you turn 18 and you decide that, oh man, the court cases in this are going to get convoluted quickly.
Well, think about it. How many of these 17-year-old kids you already see making trips and talking to have agents and handlers? All this is already starting.
Yeah,
it's not like you're hearing 16-year-old kids getting scholarship offers now, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it's just getting worse. And now with these agents, they could talk to the parents, they could talk to their handlers, they can talk to whoever they want. So it's not like you're just going to go to the player. You can make a deal with the parent and just ship it through them.
Yep.
The problem is for college football always tries to do, it feels like they, instead of going all in, well, we'll try this, and if it doesn't work, we'll try this. You can't fix NIL unless you fix the transfer portal. You can't fix the transfer portal. You got to fix tampering too. Then from tampering, you got to fix the playoff. Then you got to find some kind of balance. Then you got to find a way for all the rules.
How do we fix the transfer portal?
Oh, I don't know. With tampering and everything else, I don't
know. When should the portal be open?
One time in the spring.
Once in the spring.
That's
it.
What
I don't understand.
But then you don't get those guys coming in like Ohio State has now.
But this is what I don't understand. You hear the transfer portals
to have that spring practice and learn the offense, be part of the team, grow as a team.
But the transfer portal,
like that.
It's going to open. It's going to open the 7th. You're already hearing guys, or sorry, the 16th. You're already hearing guys. Oh, he's in the portal, and he's in the portal, and he's in the portal. And then it's supposed to close the 25th, but what, a month later you hear, oh, this guy just is somehow in the portal now, and this guy's in the portal now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily close for everyone that's in the playoffs still, because they get another week. after the playoffs. 5 days.
Guys were entering the portal coming February and March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless they just announce they're going to enter when it opens, and
that's what I'm saying. You need to have one time a year where
100%.
everybody can level set, and
Mm-hmm.
and it cannot be when you're in the middle of your bowl season and you're in the middle of the playoffs. This is absurd.
You got to wait till all the games are over before.
would it
It needs to be
that's fine.
immediately
It's the
after
day
the national title.
title. The day after the national title, give it 3 weeks. But the problem is with that is you're dealing with everybody's in school. Every single person's in school. At that time.
I think you need to start with, you first go with the high school recruits right after 2-3 weeks after the national championship game. Then after spring practice, then you open up the portal right now. Because at least it forces those kids to stay in school for a year.
They'll have to have a standard spring practice then.
Like these kids are gone after a year. At least they stay there for the year instead of, I enrolled in September, I'm gone in December.
Yeah.
Like guys have been in school for 2 years on their 4th or 5th team. Like this is getting crazy.
Yeah. But that's not going to change now. I mean, you could transfer academically anytime you wanted to. So why can't an athlete?
But you also have to wonder what's I'd love to see this here in the next couple of years, especially with NFL draft picks. How many of those NFL draft picks transferred more than once? And I bet the answer is next to none. So when you start seeing these kids transferring 3-4 times, you're not an NFL caliber player.
Yeah.
You're not. So do whatever you want. Why should I regulate you?
I don't care if people want to transfer. I think it should be limited to like 2 or 3 times because you're still there to get an education. And what is it? I think Nick Saban said every time you transfer, the chances of graduating goes down 33%. So if you're on your 5th team, you're pretty much not even going to graduate.
Well, you just lose credits. I mean, but if you're on scholarship, you can make those up.
Possibly.
I think
you know what I mean?
I don't know. It's weird because then you also kind of have to fix the transfer portal to fix tampering because that's out of control. But it's going to take so many different people to be involved and do this right that I just don't think college football will do it. You're going to need so many big programs to buy in.
Yeah.
Because then now you're talking salary cap, though. Really, the only answer to all of this, where you're leading to, is a salary cap. And that contradicts what Steve and I are saying about let the market drive the price. Like Bryce Underwood making $10 million a year. God bless. That's awesome.
Listen,
I have no issue with that. But if somebody comes in and says, I got a salary cap of $25 million and I can only pay the future Bryce Underwood $2.5 million a year, that's nonsense.
I'm not
Let
saying
the market drive it.
Listen, I'm not saying salary cap. This is not me saying this. I'm just telling you what they're saying. For me, I don't care.
Other regulation other than
my school. My school has a lot of money. I don't care, and it's just growing. So for me, they can keep it the way it is. They could be up to 75, 80 million by the end of next year. A year they could spend. So I have no problem with big money. If you want to do it, every report I read, Michigan's in it. Same thing with Ohio State. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not worried because Ohio State has money.
If you're a Georgia fan, are you worried?
I don't know. I got to look at what Georgia would have.
I don't
If
see
I'm
them on
Texas,
any
I'm not
list.
worried. If I'm Texas, I'm not worried.
Not A&M, you're not worried. Probably not Miami.
But let me ask you this, Mike.
USC.
Does it ever worry you about these players who are just simply looking for the highest dollar amount?
Or what year are they in?
Does that matter?
Freshman.
Yeah, that doesn't matter to me.
Incoming freshman.
If I can go
5-star, top 10 consensus, 24/7 ESPN.
This would never happen. Okay, let's just say this though. Bryce Underwood actually lives up to. I'll use Michigan because that's my team.
Yeah,
okay? Bryce Underwood lives up to being who he is, and I can go out and get the top safety next year and a top linebacker, and all they want is money. Yeah, I don't care. Give them $50 million. Because then, if I'm going to put a solid defense, now would I give a high school kid $50 million? No, I'm not giving a high school kid $50 million. But if you want me to go spend top dollar, yeah, I'll go out and get the third year first round draft pick. Yeah, I'll go give him $50 million. I'd go give him $60 million.
You don't see a lot of that in the transfer portal. The Caleb Downs of the transfer portal, that's pretty rare.
Just because the coach left, though. That was
and that's primarily it. If Nick Saban coaches 2 more years, Caleb Downs is staying in Alabama. So you're not going out and spending $50 million on some 5-star linebacker or 5-star safety. You're spending a lot of that money on these freshmen. And my argument is, I don't want you coming to Ohio State because we're offering the top dollar. I want you coming to Ohio State because we'll pay you, but I want you to come here because you want to go to the NFL. Especially like Jeremiah Smith. Say what you want. You come play wide receiver at an elite level at Ohio State, your first-round draft pick.
100%.
But that's what I'm saying is, you look at Jeremiah Smith, and I'm purely making this up, right? I have no idea. But if he says, hey, I'll go to Ohio State for $3 million, Miami wants to offer me $5 million, I don't think I can do at Miami what I can do at Ohio State. I'm happy with my $3 million because I'm going to go get paid in the NFL. Those are the kind of players I want. I don't need the guy who wants the top dollar instantly because I'm saying, no, you'll get good money here, but you should be making your money in the NFL. If you're looking for top dollar, do you really have that drive, that desire to be great?
Okay, so here's my question, though. What happens if a school comes in that 1 year is, let's say Texas, right? Let's say Texas, next year is their year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they decide they're going to spend $200 million and just going to go to each team and offer can't say no money. So, we need a quarterback. Let's say Underwood's going to be the guy. We'll give you $15 million for this year. Come and play for us. Jeremiah Smith's here. We got $25 million. Come and play for us. This guy over here, we got another 12 for you. Why don't you come over here?
That's the market.
So how do you regulate that?
Well, first, you're not supposed to talk to a player on another team. But the problem is there's no one policing any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're okay,
you can never police it because I could go talk to somebody down the road. There's no law that's ever going to stop me from talking to that guy down the road. So you cannot police that concept because there is no line. If you say, okay, nobody affiliated with the university can.
Can I ask you a question? Then why doesn't it happen in the NFL before guys hit free agency?
It does. They literally call it a legal tampering period, which is the biggest contradiction in the world.
Yeah,
these contracts are already Monday when legal tampering period starts.
For
you
that
have 45 free agents that have already signed
legal tampering.
Yeah.
Why would you call it tampering if it's legal?
That's the contradiction, but it's legal tampering by the NFL. Free agency starts on Wednesday. They do legal tampering on Monday. The first 5 minutes of legal tampering, there's 45 contracts. Everyone knows
already signed. Yeah.
They're already signed. You didn't come up with a contract in 3 minutes. Like it happens in the NFL every single year.
But does it happen during the season? Like where guys are stroking deals?
You can't. You're under contract for that year. I mean, it's a little bit different. That's a professional contract.
Well, wasn't the guy from Wisconsin under contract and he still went to Miami?
Isn't he suing the NCAA over that?
No, Wisconsin's suing him.
Yeah, somebody is. Yeah, I knew there was some lawsuit.
That's what I didn't know until I heard the Big Ten commissioner talk that a lot of these teams actually have these guys signing contracts now.
Yeah, they should.
And I had no idea about that.
If you're talking multi-million dollars, you sign a contract.
I mean, but what's the point? What's the mark of of those contracts? At least in the NFL, it's very clearly defined. What the year of it is because they have an NFL year. It's very clearly stated. So I don't know what
I think.
What if I sign a contract from July 1st to what, February 1st? Like, what is my contract year?
I think the problem you're having. Well, not me. I think the problem is we think about it differently because we're fans of bigger schools. I think it's the other 80% is why you're seeing this happen.
I'll give you a great point. St. Francis in Pennsylvania is a school that made the NCAA tournament this year in basketball. After they lost their tournament game, they officially announced they're moving to Division III because they can no longer afford to be a Division I school in basketball or any other sport. That's what you're going to see with this. You're going to see the hundreds of fringe D1 basketball schools and maybe dozens of fringe D1 schools literally dropping down to Division III because they cannot afford to do it anymore. That's what.
Yeah, 100%. You're gonna.
I mean, you just saw it. There's a real world example. St. Francis. It's a real world example.
No matter what they do, you're going to see that because it's
All right,
getting,
boys.
It's getting to the point where, and I like it the way it is. If it was up to me, I would have kept it 14 playoff and keep it the way it is. I liked it.
I don't think we're going to solve these problems today.
No, we're
not.
not
with you helping. You're too busy catching butterflies.
Just let it happen. Let the market do it, man.
Amen.
That's it. But thank you both for joining us. Thanks for Seattle Matt coming back, man. That was always fun. Mike, Germany's, yeah, you are a Michigan fan I can tolerate, so we'll have you on anytime.
Thanks, buddy.
Good seeing
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mike. Yep.
Everyone have a blessed day. God bless y'all. We'll see you later next time. I think we are going to do what was the date we're going to do? We're going to skip.
We're going to do every 2 weeks. So we'll do April 17th with our wrap up of the spring game, kind of see how the depth chart fleshes out, and then our final show until coming back with the Big Ten Conference media days will be May 1st, which will be right after the draft. We'll be talking about 15 plus Buckeyes drafted. Give you a wrap up.
Oh, and you guys are actually doing a spring game now, right? You guys are playing a spring game. It's not just a showcase now.
It's spring.
No showcase. We got to sell some tickets, man. Make a game.
Yeah, got to get that NIL money up. We need to spend 50, 60 million a year.
That's right. We got to up the game. Here we go. All right. Later on, Buckeye backers. Peace out. God bless.